Have you ever felt like you're, standing in front of this huge map when you're about to tackle something new? Maybe it's a complex topic for work or, let's say, a whole new language, and you've got this pile of books, articles, websites, and you're just thinking, where do I even begin? How do you cut through all that noise and just get to the core? Well, that's exactly what we're going to try and do today. We're taking a deep dive into one of the most acclaimed resources for learning Japanese, the Genki textbook series. Specifically, we're focusing on the real foundational stuff in its third edition, Lesson 1. We've pulled from a bunch of places for this, the Genki textbook itself, obviously, but also detailed grammar videos from channels like Tukini Andy and Coder's Voice, plus practical tips from Reddit threads, community insights, vocabulary lists people have shared, and even cultural nuances from Tafugu's guides on things like self-introductions and those tricky particles. So our mission here is really to give you a powerful head start. We want to unpack Genki Lesson 1, the core grammar, yes, but also the cultural bits, the study strategies, basically help you get those aha moments without feeling totally overwhelmed. Okay, so let's get into it. This textbook series, Genki, what's the big picture? How is it actually designed to, well, teach you Japanese? It looks pretty structured.
Oh, it absolutely is. And that structure is really one of its strengths. You see, Genki cleverly splits each lesson into two main parts: conversation and grammar, and then reading and writing.
Ah, okay, so they separate speaking and grammar from the writing aspect.
Exactly. And that's super helpful, especially at the start. It stops you from getting overloaded trying to juggle listening, speaking, grammar, and complex characters all at once. The idea is you really nail the spoken language and the basic grammar first. Build that foundation.
Makes sense. So what's the recommended way to go through it?
The usual advice is finish the conversation and grammar section for a lesson first. Get comfortable with that. Then you move on to the reading and writing section for that same lesson number.
Gotcha.
But, it's flexible. If someone's purely focused on conversation, they could technically just stick with the first section, though reading and writing are pretty fundamental eventually.
And what about, time commitment? How long does it generally take?
Well, the estimate for a classroom setting is around 200 hours to get through all 23 lessons across both volumes. That kind of breaks down to maybe 6 hours for each conversation and grammar lesson, and about 3 for reading and writing.
6 and 3, okay.
But, and this is important, that's just a guideline. If you're self-studying, you really adjust it to your own pace. Some people fly through, others take more time. As for levels, finishing Volume 1 generally aims for JLPT N5 or maybe CEFR A1, basic daily stuff.
Right, the first rung on the ladder.
Exactly. And Volume 2 takes you up towards N4 or A2. So definite progress markers there.
That's useful, having those benchmarks.
Yeah.
What about how it introduces the writing system? You mentioned that separation.
Yeah, so in the conversation and grammar parts of Lessons 1 and 2, they mainly use hiragana. That's the basic phonetic script for Japanese words, and katakana for foreign loanwords. And they give you the romanized readings, too, the romaji.
Ah, so they ease you in.
They do. Kanji, the Chinese characters, they don't really start appearing until Lesson 3. And even then, they always provide the hiragana reading, the furigana, right above or beside the kanji.
Okay.
The book really stresses mastering all the hiragana in Lesson 1 and all the katakana in Lesson 2. They say it's pretty crucial for moving forward effectively.
So no trying to skip the kana, then. Good advice for anyone eager to jump straight into kanji.
Definitely stick with the kana first.
Yeah.
And within each lesson, the learning components are pretty comprehensive. There are dialogues, usually following this international student character, Mary.
Right, I've heard about Mary.
Yeah, she's kind of the guide. Then you get detailed vocabulary lists with audio too, which is great for pronunciation. The grammar explanations, they try to keep them accessible, avoid super technical linguistic jargon where possible.
That's helpful.
And lots of practice exercises, both right in the textbook and in a separate workbook. Plus, they throw in these culture notes and useful expressions sections.
Oh, nice. Little cultural tidbits.
Yeah, they give context, which is really important for language learning, I think.
It really sounds like a well-rounded package. Structured, builds confidence, gives you all the pieces. Okay, now let's get to the real core, the stuff that lets you actually build sentences right from the start. The fundamental grammar from Lesson 1. What are the absolute must-knows? The things that unlock basic communication.
Right, the essentials. Lesson 1 really boils down to 3 key building blocks. First up is the basic statement sentence, X wa desu.
X, Y, desu.
Okay, so X is your topic, the thing you're talking about. Then you have R, which is pronounced wa when it's acting as this topic marker particle, even though it's the hiragana ha.
Right, that's a common beginner trip up, the ha being wa.
It is. And wa basically says, okay, regarding X. Then comes Y, which is the description of X. What is X? What's it like? And finally, you have R, pronounced desu. This is a polite auxiliary verb. Think of it like it is or they are.
The polite ending.
Exactly. It makes the sentence polite. You use it at the end when Y is a noun or an adjective, including those na adjectives we sometimes see. There is an informal version, da, but Genki, and most teachers will tell you, stick with desu starting out. It's polite, it's safe, it's easier.
Good rule of thumb. Politeness first. Can you give some examples of this XYY desu structure?
Sure, like banana wa amai desu.
Bananas are sweet.
Right. Or kyu wa nichibubi desu.
It is Sunday.
Yep. Maybe. Dobutsu no mori wa tanoshii desu.
Animal Crossing is fun. A relevant example for many.
Definitely. Or even simpler, ofuro wa tsui desu.
The bath is hot.
Oh,
Yeah, I see the pattern. X, Y, desu.
That's the core. And relating this to introductions, you mentioned pronouns like watashi for I or buku, which is a more masculine I.
Yeah.
You can say watashi wa andi desu, but often, if it's clear you're talking about yourself, just saying your name plus desu is way more natural.
Like Andy desu.
Exactly, andi desu.
Yeah.
Much smoother, less textbooky.
That's a brilliant tip for sounding less like a beginner right away. Okay, so that's statements. Block 1. What about asking questions if I want to ask, is today Sunday? How does that work?
It's actually beautifully simple and polite Japanese. You take your statement, like kyu wa nichiyubi desu,
Today's Sunday.
and you just add the particle ka at the very end.
Just add ka.
Just add ka. So kyu wa nichiyubi desu ka now means is today Sunday.
Wow, okay. So banana wa amai desu ka for our banana sweet.
Precisely. Debutsu no mori wa tanoshii desu ka is Animal Crossing fun. You just tack on the ka.
That is elegant.
It really is. And just as a side note, in very casual, informal speech, sometimes people drop the ka and just use a rising intonation like we might in English. But sticking with ka is the standard polite way taught first.
Got it. Keep the ka for politeness. So that's building block 2. Questions. What's the third essential from lesson 1?
The third key piece is the particle no. And this one is super versatile. It does a couple of main jobs in lesson 1.
Okay, the no particle.
First, it shows possession, kind of like the apostrophes ends in English. The structure is noun A, the owner, plus noun B, the thing owned.
Owner, no item.
Exactly. So if Andy owns a cell phone, it's Andy no kitai.
Andy's cell phone. Simple enough.
Yep. But no sign does another really important thing. It links two nouns together where the first noun gives more information about or describes the second noun.
Ah, okay. Like modifying it.
Sort of, yeah. The structure is noun A, description, plus no, plus noun B, the main thing. Think of Yochin no sensei.
Kindergarten teacher.
Right. Yochin kindergarten describes what kind of sensei teacher it is. Or another one, Yakyu no senshu.
Baseball player.
Yakyu
baseball describes this senshu player.
You got it. So you can use this within the XY desu structure we learned.
Combining them.
Yes. So Yakyu no senshu wa tsuyoi desu.
Baseball players are strong.
Perfect. Or maybe Watashi no okasan wa Yochin no sensei desu.
My mother is a kindergarten teacher. Wow, okay. It's actually quite amazing how you can start building pretty descriptive sentences just with these 3 core elements from lesson 1, x, y, y desu, add ka for questions, and use no for possession or description.
It gives you a surprisingly solid foundation right out of the gate.
But as anyone who keeps studying finds out pretty quickly, there are these nuances, right? Things that aren't quite so straightforward. And maybe the biggest early head scratcher is the difference between particles like wa and shake gap. Let's try and untangle those a bit. How do they really work in practice, especially when you're just trying to introduce yourself without sounding awkward?
Ah, yes, wa versus ga. This is, well, it's famously tricky. Even native speakers sometimes find it hard to pin down the exact rules consciously, but getting a feel for them is key to sounding more natural.
Okay, lay it on us. The difference.
Let's start with ga. Think of ga like a spotlight. It shines directly on the grammatical subject, the person or thing doing the action or being in a certain state. Crucially, ga often introduces new information into the conversation, or it emphasizes exclusivity, like saying this one, not the others.
Okay, ga is new info, specific focus, this one.
Exactly. So if you point to a specific chocolate bar and say, kono cho ga oishii, you're really highlighting this chocolate is the delicious one. It implies maybe others you tried weren't, or you're answering which one is tasty.
Gotcha. The spotlight. What about wa then?
So if ga is a tight spotlight, think of wa as a broader stage light. It sets the general topic for the sentence or maybe even a whole paragraph. It says, okay, let's talk about X now. Wa often marks information that's already known, or it's the general theme being discussed.
Old info, general theme.
Right. And very importantly, wa often carries an implication of contrast. By setting X as the topic, you're implicitly contrasting it with other potential topics that aren't being discussed right now. They're left in the shadows, so to speak.
Ah, the contrast aspect is interesting.
Yeah. So if you say, Tokyo wa nigiyakana tokoro desu, it means, as for Tokyo, it's a lively place. It sets Tokyo as the topic, but it might gently imply, well, other places might be different.
Okay, that distinction is clearer now. Ga for the specific subject new info, wa for the general topic context contrast.
That's a good way to think about it. And remember what we said earlier, Japanese often omits things.
Right, particles, subjects, topics.
Exactly. So when wa or ga are actually used, their presence is more significant. They're adding a specific nuance that the speaker wants to convey. The omission is often the default if the context is clear.
So using them deliberately adds emphasis or clarity.
Precisely. Now let's tie this back to Jiko Shukai's self-introductions. How does this play out?
Yeah, how do we avoid sounding weird?
First, the basics. Remember, Japanese name order is family name first, then given name. Opposite to many Western countries.
Important cultural point.
Very. Now, about using watashi wa, we touched on this. Grammatically fine, but saying watashi wa name desu can sound a bit overly explicit sometimes, like stating the obvious. As for me, I'm name.
When everyone knows you're talking about yourself.
Right. So for just a simple standard introduction, dropping the watashi wa and just going with name desu usually sounds much more natural.
Keep it simple, less is more.
Usually, yes. But there are times when ga comes into play in intros.
Oh, when would you use ga?
If you need to specifically identify yourself out of a group, imagine someone calls out, "Is Andy here?" And you raise your hand and say, "Watashi ga Andy desu."
I'm Andy. Like, I am the one you're looking for.
Exactly. It has that pinpointing, distinguishing function of ga. You're highlighting yourself specifically.
That makes perfect sense now with the spotlight idea. What about professional introductions?
In work context, it's very common to state your role, like, "Kaishain desu, I'm an office worker." Or if you're representing a company, you'd usually mention it. For example, "Tofugu no koichi to mushimasu." That's a polite way of saying, "I'm Koichi from Tofugu." Using to mushimasu is more formal than desu.
Okay, mentioning the company is key in business.
Yes. And a tip from Tofugu is interesting. Avoid listing all your personal strengths right away in an intro. Keep it concise and relevant to the situation.
Good advice. What about nonverbal stuff? Bowing, handshakes.
Big one. Bowing is the standard, especially meeting equals or superiors. Generally, avoid initiating a handshake unless the other person, maybe a foreigner, offers one. And a key timing point. You usually bow after you finish speaking. So you'd say your name, maybe yoroshiku wanagashimasu. Please be kind to me, nice to meet you, essentially. Then bow.
Speak, then bow. Got it. And business cards, meishi.
Ah, a meishi etiquette is huge. Treat them with respect. Always use a proper card case. Don't just pull one from your pocket. Give and receive with two hands if possible. Orient the card so the other person can read it as you offer it.
Two hands, facing them.
Right. And when you receive one, take a moment to actually read it. Don't just stuff it away immediately. Acknowledge it. Maybe confirm the reading of their name.
Shows respect.
Exactly. And if you're exchanging with multiple people, generally give to the most senior person first. It's all about showing respect for their position and identity.
Wow, there's a lot more to just saying hello than you might think.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to our listener, just starting with Genki 1, what's one quick, actionable tip they can use right away, considering wa and ga and just sounding natural?
I think the most immediate thing is be mindful of context for watashi wa. If it's just a casual meeting, try dropping it. Just name desu, see how it feels. It'll likely sound smoother. But if you need to distinguish yourself, who's the student? Watashi ga gakusei desu. I'm the student. Then ga is your tool.
Context is king.
Absolutely. And just start mentally tagging situations. Is this general topic, wa, or specific subject, ra? It takes time, but awareness is the first step. And then, yeah, once the basic intro is down, you can start adding bits like shushin for where you're from or shumi for your hobbies, baby steps.
Great advice. Okay, so Genki provides this solid framework.
Mm-hmm.
But learning isn't just about the textbook, right? How do real learners people actually using Genki make the most of it? What tips or resources are out there in the community?
Oh, the community aspect is huge. For vocabulary, for instance, there was this amazing Reddit post someone shared. It was a complete vocabulary list for the entire Genki third edition, like over 1,700 words, all neatly organized in a Google Sheet.
Wow, that's gold for learners.
Totally. Because you can download that sheet, maybe tweak the columns a bit, save it as a specific file type. CSV UTF-8 usually works best.
Right, for flashcard apps.
Exactly. Import it straight into Anki or a similar spaced repetition system, SRS. That's a super common and effective way to drill vocabulary. And the community often suggests using text-to-speech add-ons like Awesome TTS for Anki, maybe with a specific voice like the Udao dictionary one, to get audio pronunciation attached to your flashcards.
Having audio is so important.
Definitely helps lock it in. Now, it's fair to mention you do see contrasting views. There was another Reddit user arguing against things like vocabulary lists and sentence mining, calling them a meme and saying they learned without them.
Huh. Interesting. So, conflicting advice.
Yeah, and it highlights a key point. Learning styles differ vastly. What works wonders for one person might not click for another. While structured methods like Anki are incredibly popular and demonstrably effective for many, the most important thing is finding a study routine that you can stick with and that works for your brain. Don't feel pressured into one specific method if it's not gelling with you.
Really good reminder. Experiment and find your own groove.
Hmm.
What about help with grammar beyond the textbook explanations?
Yeah, another community gem someone shared on Reddit, I think the user was Drug Keeper, was a set of concise grammar notes summarizing Genki volumes 1 and 2.
Like cheat sheets.
Kinda, yeah. Really useful for quick review or consolidating what you've learned in a lesson. And since the core grammar hasn't changed dramatically between editions, notes based on older editions are often still very relevant for the third edition structure.
That's handy.
And you also see discussions about how people take notes, Evernote versus Google Docs versus physical notebooks.
The eternal tools debate.
Right. But the underlying point seems to be less about the specific tool and more about the act of actively processing, summarizing, and reviewing the information yourself. That's where the learning happens.
Makes sense. The process, not just the platform. Are there official Genki resources beyond the books?
Yes, definitely. The publisher has actually developed several companion apps. There's Genki Vocab, Genki Kanji, and Genki Conjugation Cards app.
Oh, integrated digital tools.
Exactly. They align directly with the textbook lessons. And there's also an official website, Genki Online, which has additional quizzes and practice materials. So there are lots of ways to supplement the core textbook and workbook.
So plenty of avenues for practice and reinforcement. That's great to know. Okay, so let's recap this deep dive into Genki Lesson 1. We've looked at the smart structure of the Genki series, separating conversation and grammar from reading and writing. We nailed down those absolute essential grammar points. The XYY Disu statement, turning it into a question with ka, and using the versatile no particle for possession and description. We also waded into the tricky but crucial nuances of wa versus ga, understanding ga as the spotlight and was as the stage light setting the topic. And we touched on vital cultural points for self-introductions, name order, skipping watashi wa, bowing, meshi etiquette. Plus, we shared some great community tips for vocabulary and grammar practice using things like shared spreadsheets for Anki and supplementary notes. Honestly, just getting a handle on these elements from Lesson 1 is a massive step toward making your Japanese sound and feel more natural and, well, impactful.
Absolutely. You've taken this deep dive into the mechanics and culture packed into just the first lesson, but it makes you think, doesn't it? What does it truly mean to be Genki? That word itself meaning healthy, energetic, full of spirit. It's not just a textbook title. How does that feeling of energy and vibrancy manifest in the Japanese language itself, beyond Lesson 1? And maybe, how can that idea of Genki inspire your own energy and motivation as you continue this journey to really connect with the language on a deeper level?
That's a fantastic thought to end on. Something for all of us learning Japanese to really mull over. How can we bring that Genki energy to our studies? We really hope this dive helps you tackle Genki or whatever your Japanese learning path looks like. Apply these insights, keep exploring, ask questions, and definitely share any aha moments you have along the way. Until next time, keep diving deep.